This is incredible. My video last week announcing that I was going back to playing poker full time has over 5,000 views and is still climbing. Thank you so much for all the support. Thank you to all the new subscribers who are here to live out this journey with me. We're headed out right now to play a cash game session, some huge pots, some crazy hands, a double up in the very first hand. Who needs a job when you run like this? Let's go ahead and get to the table. Don't forget to hit that like button. Really helps out the video a ton. Had over 550 likes on the last video. If we can get back to that number, I will be ecstatic. Also, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. This is gonna be a hell of a journey. I want you to go on it with me. Let's get after it.
Oh, I noticed that.
So, I don't know, I think I will email them back, but I do not have... It doesn't make any fucking sense.
One of the first hands off the deck in this session, we've got ace king offsuit. We're in the hijack. We've got $300 in front of us. There's a button straddle to $6. We see the big blind call that straddle. Action gets to us. We're gonna raise it up to 20 bucks. We see the button straddler fold, and we see the big blind make the call. So we're off to see a flop, hoping we can flop something good here. That's not exactly what happens though. Do we have a gut shot to the nuts? Yes. Do we have two overs? Yes. Do we have anything else? Hell no. I decide we're gonna go ahead and bet out $20 here after he checks to us, hoping we can just take this down right here. Unfortunately, he doesn't think about it for very long before making the call. So we're off to see a turn. Everybody hit the like button. Hopefully we can see that perfect card on the turn, and sure enough we do. Bang, we've got the nuts, and we get even better news when he bets $45 into us. So guys, what are we gonna do now? I think we just have to make the call and hope that we can get him to put in more money later. Maybe he's got something really good. I don't know, but I've got the nuts. We call, we're off to see a river. We're hoping for a blank. We see the 8 of clubs, so it changes very little, almost nothing. We are hoping that we're gonna face a bet here, and sure enough, our opponent bets $100. We are raising it up. We are gonna go all in here. I don't think we have any other options. We put it in, we're all in, and almost our first hand of the session, and we are praying for a call. We've got the absolute nuts. There's no hand he can have that will beat us, and our opponent goes into the tank. Before too long, he makes the call. We table our hand, and we see that we have coolered him. He's got king jack offsuit for a turned 2 pair. The best possible card in the deck for us was the worst possible card in the deck for him. We take down a monster pot to start off the day. This is the dream, guys. This is how you draw it up. We're gonna see a ton of chips shipped our way. We're doubling up in the first hand. Let's see how big of a session we can have. In the second interesting hand of the night, we've got 2 red 9s. We've got almost $600 in front of us. We're under the gun. We open it up to 10 bucks. We see a middle position player make the call, and we see the guy that we stacked in the last hand raise it up to 30 bucks from the small blind. Obviously, I'm not gonna go anywhere with this hand. I think about it for a second before making the call. Could have 3-bet. I think there's some merit to it here, but I don't think that's necessary. We're gonna make the call. We see the middle position player fold, and we're off to see a flop. What's a good flop for pocket 9s? I would say any flop that contains a 9 is pretty good, and sure enough, that's what we get. Our opponent checks. I'm gonna bet out 45 here. I think this might be a mistake. Maybe we shouldn't lead out here. Maybe we should check back, but it doesn't feel like a mistake when he immediately makes the call. Turn comes down, the beautiful 5 of spades, so we've immediately got a full house. We're feeling great. He checks to us again. We're betting again. We're gonna bet out $85 here. Clearly he's got something. We're hoping he can make the call, and he goes in the tank for just a second for making the call. So no disappointment there. We're off to see a river, hoping that something great can happen, that he can hit some sort of hand here. It's a 10 of diamonds. Now guys, what's the coolest thing that could happen right now in this hand? Would it be that my opponent snap shoves for his last $150-ish? Well, that's exactly what happens. I'm making the snap call and showing him the bad news as he is on the wrong end of another horrific cooler. My opponent shows us Queen Jack of spades for the turned, flush draw, and rivered straight. Honestly, feel terrible for the guy. He didn't play either one of these hands poorly at all. He was just on the wrong side of variance. We take down another huge pot. We stack the same opponent 2 times. Yeah, feel bad for him. Not sure if he watches the videos, but that's just bad luck, man. Hope I see you again. Looking down at ace jack offsuit in this one, trying to get my camera to focus. We are in the big blind. We've got around $850 in front of us. We see a button straddle. We see the small blind make the call. We're going to raise it up here. The size I choose is 30 bucks. That might be a little bit big, but there was so much dead money in the middle, I don't feel like that's terrible. Unfortunately, we get some kind of bad news when the cutoff makes the call. So we're going to be out of position in this hand. Off to see a flop which comes down 9 high with 2 spades. Obviously, terrible for us. I think we're just going to go ahead and check in this spot, especially against this opponent. We see him put out a large bet. We're not going to be able to make the call here. We're not going to be able to continue. I think we just have to let this one go and look for a better spot. So we go ahead and put in the fold. Looking down at Queen 10 offsuit in this one, the action gets folded to me and I'm on the button. We're going to raise it up to 15 bucks here. I think this is pretty standard. Unfortunately, we get 2 callers here. So we were hoping to go heads up or to just take down the blinds here, but we've got a hand with some decent playability. Flop comes down king high, so not a terrible flop for us, and we're feeling very good when action quickly checks to me. I'm going to go ahead and make a continuation bet here. I think $20 should do the trick into a pot of about 45. We see a quick fold from the big blind, and the hijack goes well into the tank. Obviously, we're hoping for a fold here. The longer he stays in the tank, the more concerned I'm starting to get. But before too long, we eventually see our opponent put in the fold. So we take this one down. Feels pretty good to get one through. Decent sized pot. On to the next one. Looking down at ace 10 of diamonds from the small blind, we've got a very playable hand and a nice stack of chips. Under the gun 2 makes it $15 to go. The cutoff calls. I'm going to make the call also, and we are off to see a flop. Pretty solid flop for us if you like backdoor draws. I'm going to check it, however, and we're pretty happy when the action ends up checking through. Turn comes down the 8 of diamonds, and I think it's time for us to go ahead and start putting money in the middle. That's a great card for us, maybe one of the best ones in the deck. We put out $15, and we're kind of hoping to see our opponents continue here. We see one call, and we quickly see another call, so that's great. We got some action here. We're off to see a river. The jack of diamonds sounds like a pretty good river, you guys. I think it's probably time for me to assemble a bet. How much are we going to bet here when we turn the nut flush? I know it's a paired board, but it's still the nut flush. We also have a straight, not that that matters. We're going to go ahead and bet out $65 here. I think I'm fairly happy with that size. Let me know what you think down in the comments though. I appreciate all the input I can get. Our opponents go into the tank a little bit, under the gun 2 folds, and it's on to the cutoff, and we're really hoping we can get some action. We are praying for a call at this point. The longer that he thinks, the happier we are. We see a call, and we've got the nut flush. Our opponent claims to have had a baby flush. I don't know if I really trust him. Maybe he did. We don't get to see his hand, but we take down another very nice pot. This next hand's a little bit weird, and I missed some of the details. I think slightly unsure of some of the action pre-flop. I know I have ace jack of spades. I'm in the hijack, and I've got about 920 bucks. It looks like I opened to $10, which doesn't make any sense. We see a player to our right limp raise us to $30, and I make the call. If that's correct, I have zero idea what's going on. I'd have thought I would have opened to 15 over some limpers, then him limp raising to 30, and me calling makes slightly more sense, but still bad. Anyway, we're off to see a flop of king high, all spades. He bets $30. I decide we're going to go ahead and make the call here. I don't think this is great against this opponent. In hindsight, he seems like he was a little bit scared and a little bit nitty, but I didn't find that out until the end of the hand. Turn comes down the 7 of diamonds, I believe. He checks and I check. River comes down the 9 of spades. When he checks the river, I don't think I can go for value here with just the jack of spades, and betting opens me up to getting raised. He checks. I check back. We flip over our hand, and we get some really weird news when he shows us ace king with the ace of spades. So not sure why he was playing this hand this way. Pretty weird overall. Not really sure what happened in this one. Mistakes were very clearly made. Yikes. In the next hand, we're looking down at a pretty one. We've got queen jack of diamonds from middle position. We got about 850 bucks in front of us. Under the gun 1 opens at $15 in a non-straddle pot. Under the gun 2 calls. I think this is actually a spot where we should 3-bet or fold. I would kind of lean towards 3-betting. But we end up making the call, and we go 3 ways to a king high flop with 1 diamond. Action checks through. We see the turn come down the 8 of diamonds, so a great card for us. Under the gun 1 bets $40. Under the gun 2 makes the call. With this good of a hand and this many draws, I think I'm going to make the call here and keep this multi-way, although I could definitely see some merit in raising. Would love some input on that. Unfortunately for us, the river is the brick of all bricks. It's the 4 of clubs. Action ends up checking through somehow, and 10-9 of hearts ends up winning the hand. Kind of odd. Unfortunate not to hit any of my outs, obviously, but what are you going to do? Yeah, I don't know. Not super happy with how I played that hand and super unhappy with the result, obviously. We're looking down at ace-jack offsuit from the small blind. We've got about 800 bucks in front of us, and we see the cutoff make it $10. I think I should 3-bet or fold here. He seemed like a tighter player, so maybe call is okay, or maybe just fold is okay. But anyway, I make the call, and a middle position limper also calls. Off to see a flop, which is a mediocre one for us and should be just about for everybody. I check, and the action checks through. Turn is a jack of diamonds. I bet $10. Hoping we can get some value here. Obviously, I've got top pair, top kicker. I don't think I love my line here. There should be some merit to checking now that my hand is so strong, but I do think I should be trying to get value from any jack with a worse kicker or any eights or flush draws that check the flop. Anyway, all my opponents fold, so I take down a small one. Looking down at pocket sixes in the big blind, I've got around 800 bucks. I decide we're gonna go ahead and call the $15 pre-flop wager, and we end up going 4 ways to a flop. Obviously, we've got one card in mind that we're trying to hit. We need a 6, or we're going to be very reluctant to get involved further. Unfortunately, we see a king high flop with no 6s. We see a $15 bet. I don't really think we have too much of a decision here. I make the fold, and we see another player make the call, so pretty standard spot, no set, no bet. The game has gotten a little short-handed at this point, but I'm not worried about that because I'm looking down at the best hand ever created. I've got 2 black aces in the cutoff. I've got around $750. The button straddled to $6. Small blind calls. Action folds to me. I raised it up to 15 bucks. Definitely a mistake. Should make it more like 25. And we see the small blind and the hijack come along. So both my opponents then check in the dark. Pretty weird. Don't love that, but we do love the flop. It's ace high with 2 diamonds. So we are flopping top set here. I decide I'm going to check and give a free card after seeing both my opponents check in the dark. I think this is terrible. There are 2 diamonds on the flop. I should be betting out here. Let me know what you think. Dark checks are kind of a weird deal. Turn comes down the 5 of spades, and the small blind leads out for $21. The other player calls, and I, instead of raising for some reason, just make the call. This was not out of fear, so don't get in the comments telling me that I'm playing with scared money. This was an attempt to get more money in the pot by keeping the other player in, which does work. River comes down the 2 of clubs, and now we're in a weird situation. This is why I think it was a mistake, not because I was playing with scared money. The small blind bets $40, the hijack folds, and I'm trying to decide if we should go for value or not. I think not going for value here would be a huge mistake. You guys should be very, very proud of me because that is not what happens. I do not make the call. I've way under-repped my hand, and we are going to go for some value. I'm raising it up here to $110. My opponent then goes well into the tank. Obviously, as soon as he's tanking, we know we're good here, and we are praying for a call. Please, please, can we find a call? But we're not going to find out for quite a while, as this guy is deep in the tank. Obviously, not going to make you guys sit through nearly a 2-minute long tank. Our opponent makes the fold, unfortunately, so we take it down. Great hand for us, but really would have liked to get some value on the river. He shows us an ace, so maybe we got a little bit owned there, but I would have thought, having played it that way, maybe we get called by an ace. I don't know if this kind of stuff happens in your guys' games. Obviously, it couldn't happen in a casino, but in this home game, it happens a reasonable amount, nothing crazy, especially when the game gets short-handed. When the small blind and the big blind get down to it's their turns to act, and there hasn't been any action, oftentimes players will ask to put in some amount of money and then run the board out. It's pretty fun. I'm kind of a fan of it. Obviously, maybe I'm giving up some EV or whatever, but in this hand, I've got ace-jack. I get asked to put in 10 and run it. I'm not going to be a spoil sport. I do it, and we're off to see this flop. Pretty terrible flop for me. Great turn, and an amazing river, and we take it down with a flush. So, not a big hand. Weren't going to win that huge one anyway, and I'm not going to be the guy that says he doesn't want to put in 10 and run it. I'll do it with pretty much any hand. So guys, at this point the game is getting very short-handed. I think we're playing maybe 5-handed, maybe 6-handed, and my phone is dying. My phone's at like 17, 18%. I really need to get one of those battery packs, those portable battery packs, or a charger with a really long cord. Definitely leaning towards one of those portable battery packs. Anyway, didn't get video of this hand or the next hand, but stick with me. They're kind of important. I've got 4-3 of hearts, starting with about $925. I opened at $10 in a non-straddle hand, and we get calls from the small blind and the big blind, who are both fairly loose players. Flop comes down, great one for us. We're flopping bottom 2 pair here. Action checks to Neeme. I'm gonna go ahead and bet out here, hoping that we can get some action. I put in $20 and we see only the big blind call. He's got a pretty deep stack, so this could get kind of big. Turn comes down the 5 of hearts. Not my favorite card, not my least favorite card. We're gonna go ahead and continue betting. I bet $25 and we get some weird news when he raises us to 55. Is he gonna have very many 2s here? He's not gonna have 0 2s, but he's not gonna have very many. We're definitely not folding 2 pair here. Gonna proceed with caution in this hand. I think he could have a flush draw a decent amount of the time, and that flush draw completes on the river. So 9 of clubs on the river. Fortunately, action goes check, check. So we turn our cards over and we get some really weird, really unfortunate news that is also pretty freaking confusing when he flips over 5-4 offsuit for a better 2 pair. So we're losing a pretty sizable pot in pretty annoying fashion. The game's getting shorter handed. Not a fan of the way things are trending late in the night. Last interesting hand of the night, my phone is almost completely dead, so unfortunately no table footage on this one either. I've got ace-queen offsuit. I opened at $15 pre-flop and get called by the guy to my right who had only called with ace-king pre-flop. Here's where it gets weird. Flop comes down king-high. I'm going to obviously continuation bet on every king-high flop, pretty much. He goes into the tank and starts checking his hole cards like a bunch. Like, this is a rainbow board, so I don't know what he's checking for. It doesn't really make sense for him to have a king here. I don't really know what's going on. After he checks his cards for like the 4th or 5th time, he then makes the call. So what does he have here? I am very confused. Think this is a situation where he would be weak, but what are you... I've never seen somebody check their cards this many times. Turn comes down, pretty much a blank. I bet $45 here, and he thinks about it for a little bit before raising to 120. I have no idea what's going on. Did he flop a set here? Is he just having some sort of weird spaz freak out moment? Like, all I've got is ace high here. Does he have some random king? But if he has some random king, why did he check his whole cards 35 times? Like, I have no idea. I decide we're going to go ahead and make the fold here. I don't know. Dude seems like a nit, so he probably had something, but maybe this is one of those weird nit freak out hands where they bluff you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you've ever seen somebody check their whole cards that many times. It was very, very weird. So just let me know what you think. We have to fold. That's going to be the last hand of the night. We're racking up a nice profit, not as nice as it should have been. We are not going to complain about a winning session. Let's get into the outro.
Well guys, into the game tonight for $300. We didn't have to add on and ended up cashing out for $700. That's a $400 profit. We got off to a crazy start to the night, but as the game dwindled, I think we made some mistakes, or this could have been an even bigger day. Thanks for watching along and supporting me on this journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know down below in the comments what I could do better on my videos or in my play. Have a good one, and we'll see you on Tuesday with another video.